Hello, welcome back to another brand new FLOLiO video. And today I will be talking to you about Wolf Game. It says it right there, Wolf Game. This is a project that I've been keeping my eyes on for a long time, over a year. Bought my first asset in December 2021. So why am I making this video today? I will be showing you the wallpaper. So without further ado, I will show you the wallpaper. And here we go. So this dropped yesterday, 2 days ago, kinda. I forgot exactly. It says 19. So yeah, I guess it's 2 days ago. I'm questioning it a little bit because it dropped at night for me. So I'm a little bit confused in regards to the days, but I'll save you the effort. I'll save you having to sit through me reading the whole thing. But the TLDR, the initial version of the full game is here. They say it's here. It's actually not yet here. It's going to be launched. It's going to be live this week. The game and economy are living, breathing ecosystems. The game is simple to play, yet brimming with choices. Be strategic. The 20,000 Genesis lands are open for play. Not yet. Each land is part of one of the 101 communities. Stealing is back with entirely novel mechanics. Wolves can now actively attempt to steal Generation 2 sheep who are being bred in barns. Sheep can aim to thwart their efforts. 5 new in-game off-chain resources are introduced: chops, grass, stone, water, and wood. Wool remains the sole utility and governance token of Wolfgame, and the only on-chain resource. The game uses a hybrid Web3, Web2 architecture. Your NFTs live on the blockchain, and gameplay takes place off-chain. Many people, or there are some people, I suppose, I wouldn't say many people, who hear gameplay takes place off-chain might be concerned, right? They might be like, this is an NFT project, right? Like, stuff should be on-chain. But if you actually read through all of this, it's long. It's very long. Then you realize that there is a reason why they have chosen to go for a hybrid approach. Both on-chain and off-chain architectures are being utilized, for the reasons being that it's not possible for this game to be fully on-chain. If you had to pay gas or like transact for every single action that you do, you no longer have a fluid game. So in order for the game to be fluid and as engaging as possible, part of the game needs to be off-chain. So realistically, the only reason why you would need on-chain mechanics is so you can have proof that certain calculations that are being made is actually true RNG. So let's say if you do something, you would theoretically be able to verify on chain whether or not that outcome has actually happened. The reason why, like part of the reason why Wolfgame is part off chain, is because you don't need to verify anything. There isn't a whole lot of RNG involved in this full game. The only RNG that's involved is breeding, I suppose. And I'll get to that a little bit later. The only, well, like I'll show you, I'll show you why in a little bit, but I'll just quickly explain. It's because you have 2 sheep who breed one generation 2 sheep. The generation 2 sheep has a 33% chance to have a like traits of one of the parents, right? So that already takes up around 67%. Then there's a 33% chance that that sheep that's being bred has a entirely new traits. That's the only RNG part of Wolf game. The every other thing is because a player does something to you. Let's say you are farming with your sheep. If a wolf tries to take your loot, there is no RNG involved because you play asynchronous mini games. So it's entirely dependent on what the other player does and what you do. So there isn't any RNG involved. So because of the way it's set up, the team can really like change things on the fly. It's very very easy for the team behind Wolfgame to implement events, change certain values, change numbers. Basically, they have a good way of making sure that the game is progressing like it should. Um, I'm not sure if it says in this wallpaper, but the team has simulated a lot of actions. The team has simulated burn rate. So the wool token is actually has a 5% burn rate. Um, so for every single time someone does something in game with wool, their token, 5% of it is burned. And they have run simulations to make sure that if they let's say they have a 5% burn rate, that this becomes a game that can last for years. They're not aiming to become a game that lasts for a few weeks and then boom, it's gone. This is really supposed to be like a multi-year game. And then who knows, right? There's always stuff they can introduce. There's always stuff they can change because it's not fully on chain. So why is Wolfgame innovative? Prior to Wolfgame, few blockchain games had been built with crypto natives in mind. The release of the original Wolfgame in November 2021 introduced crypto natives to a new paradigm in gaming centered around risk, game theory, and community. So it's important to highlight that Wolfgame isn't a play to earn; it's actually a risk to earn. So there isn't anything like, oh, if you have an asset, oh, well, you can just earn passively, like that, like that's it, right? No, it's a much more creative solution where where it's not like you have something and then boom, you earn something. It's okay, you have something, but how are you gonna use it? Like, how are you going to utilize the tools at your disposal in order to win, to gain, right? It's entirely PvP. It's entirely asynchronous experiences. So there isn't just like having something and then passively just generating it. There are some others. There are a few things in this game where you can have something and then just passively earn, but the game requires you to at least log on once a week in order to claim your taxes. And if you don't, it's all burnt. So, its design unites learnings from the start of development of the original game up until now. So they have been building this for over a year. And again, here they say low time requirement, but a high thought requirement. So basically, in this little text, they say stuff like, which community should I collect water in? When is the right time to remove my sheep from the barn? Should I build a den or a bathhouse? Shall I share or be greedy? Etc. 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 So that's the part that I like still is that it's not just like, oh, you have something, okay, congrats, now you earn this token over time that everyone does as well, and it becomes immensely inflated. The team can change certain knobs and pull certain levers whenever they want to adjust the game and make sure that it's really working right. Because if it doesn't work, then the token is gonna drop, the price is gonna drop. It's gonna become a game that no one wants to play. So the game is incentivized, like the owners, the founders are incentivized to make the game as good as can be, because they are being paid in wool. So they're completely reliant on this game doing well in order to be paid. So here again, they highlight the outcome and impact of every choice you make in Wolfgame is dependent on the strategy and choices of other players and social dynamics. The game includes both macro-level game theory and micro games centered on human psychology and economics. So, let's see. I don't. Then there should be the game. Let's see. I guess it's not here yet. Oh no, it should be at the bottom maybe. So there's some like psychology games. So for example, it's like an alpha 5 wolf against a sheep. And the question is, are you going to share or are you going to be greedy, right? So if I see this correctly, it is if you're a sheep and you say share, and the wolf also does share. The wolf gets 60% and you get 40, right? But if you share and he gets greedy, he gets 90%. But what's interesting is that at least the one thing I know for sure is that where is it? There's another game. I wish I could find it. I'm not sure. There's another game where there's it's from 1 to 10, and as a sheep you have to select a number. So let's say you say 5 and the wolf says 5 as well. That means you both get 50% of the loot. If you say 6 and the wolf says 5, the total is 11, which is higher than 10, so no one gets anything from that point. But you also see the history of the choices that you've made. Well, at least you see the history of the choices that other players made. So that's really interesting because then you can make an educated guess based on that. But the player's also aware that that's being shown, right? And you can also see the other players' results. That's why it's also interesting that it's asynchronous, because if it wasn't asynchronous, then you wouldn't be able to do that kind of stuff. So they've really thought about those games and about the direction that the game wants that they want to lead the game in. This is something I found interesting as well. As in real-world economies, supply and demand will determine many of the values in the game economy. Community tax rates will be voted on by landowners. Fees to breed and recharge instructors will also be set by them. So you earlier I mentioned the 101 communities. Those are, as you expect, they're like groups of land, and there's certain things in the game where you as a community can have like a tax rate on all incomes you get, and from that money, a community can choose to build defenses, for example. So there's always wolves trying to break in and steal stuff, but if you get together as a community, you can make it harder for the wolves. And also there's like you can see here, this is a structure. You can, for example, build a barn here. It should look something like that. You can build a barn, have sheep breed in it, and hopefully no wolf comes in and take it. So this is something interesting as well. The off-chain resources and the in-game automated market maker, or an AMM. So in this game, you're able to trade, let's say, let's say stone for wood. This is done through like an automated market maker, right? So let's say the exchange rate between wood and stone is like two wood for one stone. So you can always go to this AMM and just have that exchanged. They are later on adding the AMM also for wool for the token. So you're actually able to sell your resources for wool, which is great, of course. But of course, from the beginning, it's a little bit risky to implement. Let's say there is something wrong with maybe some resource exploit. Then that opens them up to risk. That opens them up to them immediately cashing out all that wool, and that would be sketchy. So I assume that they're first trying to start without being able to exchange for wool, and then if everything works, if everything is correct, they can open it up. So here they talk more about why the gameplay is off chain, the innovation speed, inherent trust. Is because you don't really require trust for basically anything in the Wolf game, but also the fact that the developers has always done right by the community, has never done anything sketchy, has always done great. So that the community really trusts these people, and for the right reasons as well. So they don't really need to have this on chain. Everyone kind of believes them, right? Because there's nothing to really lie about. And also user experience. It's just a way smoother game. And I would, if you do own this game, if you do own assets from this collection, I would really advise you to read part two. They go really in depth about how everything works. It is too much to read and too confusing to read if you don't have anything, if you're not already like known, if you don't already understand the project. If you're very interested, I would advise you to read this by yourself. wolfgame.com/woolpaper or wolfgame.com or sorry, wolf.game. Uh, and then under info there's the Woolpaper. But as you can see, they go really in depth about communities, about structures and barns and bathhouses and dens, how energy and movement works, how breeding sheep works, how stealing sheep works, and all like graphs and diagrams, breeding wolves, Gen 2 traits, something I talked about earlier, collecting, looting games. But this is the stuff I was talking about, like the 1 through 10. Delegation. So this actually, there's one thing I forgot to mention, delegation. So let's say you're a whale. You have 100 sheep. You're not going to be able to move all those sheep. So you need to find people that can move those sheep for you. And then as exchange, they get the percentage of the rewards. And this is amazing because that means everyone can play this game. That means even if you do not have an asset, someone can lend it out to you, and that doesn't require trust because you can input their wallet ID in the game, and then you can be like, oh, I'll allow them to use one sheep. So that's a great innovative mechanic that I've never seen anywhere else except for Axie Infinity, except that wasn't native in the game. People did that themselves. So this is actually native in the game, which is insanely good, and something that can make the game very popular for outsiders as well. And they talk about more and more and more and all of the numbers. So if you really care about this game, if you're really interested, I'd say check this out. For now, I want to say thanks for watching. Check out Wolf Game, highly recommend it. I've been in this project for a year. I'm very excited to finally see it launch. And I'll see you on Friday, where I'll be talking with J-Up about the market. Bye bye.